Hi there, Phil Simborg for the USBGF with a position that came up yesterday in a lesson with one of my students. And Red has a 4-2 to play in a money game. And the obvious question is, do you hit and make the 5-point, or do you play quietly without hitting? Now you can pause this recording and decide for yourself and then come back and hear my thinking over the board, and we can see what's right, because they're not always the same. So why don't you pause it and decide what you're going to do. Okay, I hope you paused it for a long time, because this is not the kind of question you can answer with the snap of a finger, although maybe there are players good enough out there to do that and do it correctly, but you're not judged on how fast you can make decisions. You're judged on how well you can make decisions. So you obviously have two choices: hit or don't hit. Let's look at the don't hit first. If you don't hit, let's see how it would play. You would probably move this checker to here without hitting. By the way, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control C, save the position of my clipboard so I can put it back to the original. If I mess up and do something to mess it up, now all I have to do is hit Control V, and I'm right back at the original position, because it pasted it into the clipboard. So that's a real good hint when you're working on a position, where I could have just saved the position, but I already have it saved. So let's take the non-hit position and try and estimate what your winning chances are. It's an exact even race. Blue is on roll. It's very unlikely that you'll get another shot. Only double one or double two will get you another shot. And although blue might stay for the shot, and who knows who the shot favors, because it may not be a blessing to hit it again because of these blots. But let's assume the most common variation is blue runs here. So who's favored when blue is on roll and the pip count is even? He's got, usually it's somewhere around a 60-40 favorite when the pip count is even. Now red gains a little bit because he's holding the cube. There's some advantage to holding the cube. So he's got an average of 8 pips up. You could use the pip count to come up with a percentage, but a pretty good guess over the board is that blue wins this game about 60% of the time. So what's 40% of the time? It's about 15 out of 36 games is about 40% of the time. By the way, if you're not good at dividing 1 by 36, which is 2.778, multiplying 15 times 2.778, join the club. What I generally do is multiply it times 3 and then take off 10%. So 3 times 15 is 45. Take off 4.5. 15 out of 36 is about a little over 40%, about 40.5%, something like that. And it's pretty close when I do it that way. So you can win about 15 out of 36 games if you don't hit. Now, what do you win if you do hit? It's the same play, and blue's on the bar. Well, I know instantly that I win every time he dances. And there are 20 rolls that come in. There's 20 rolls that have a 1 or a 2 in them. And there's 11 ones and 11 twos. That's 22, but you don't count 2-1 twice. So there's 20 numbers that come in, which means there's 16 that dance. And if blue dances, red's going to double, and I'm pretty sure blue drops. So I win 16 times right there. Do I win if I get hit? Well, I've got to win some of the time if I get hit. First of all, he can't cube me out. And second of all, sometimes you get stuck. So I know I'm going to win a bunch if he rolls an ace, because I'm going to hold my board, and he's going to crack some. By the way, he rolled an ace something. Maybe he rolls an ace 4, ace 5. Let's give him an ace 4. I mean, how often does he crack before getting these checkers out? And a lot. He has to roll a 1 and a 6. By the way, I happen to know it takes an average of 6 rolls to roll a 1 and then a 6. Just a good number to know. Does he have 6 rolls? No. That's the average. It could take him 8 or 10 rolls. Of course, he could do it in one roll too. But if his average is 6 rolls, the odds are he is going to crack. When he cracks, I don't always win, but I've got a pretty good chance of winning. So you have to make a guess at your winning chances if he rolls a 1. And I made a wrong guess over the board, and I'll show you the right guesses. But if you guessed right and you understand this properly, you win about 40% of the time. He's about a 60-40 favorite after he hits. So if you're going to immediately win 16 games, and you win 40% of the 11 games that he hits you, that's another 4.4 games. You're up to 20 games right there, as opposed to only 15 games if you don't hit. Now, what if he came in on the 2 and hit you? If he came in on the 2 and hit you, you're still going to win a few of those, maybe 1 or 2 more games. So now I'm up to about 22, 24, somewhere in that range of games won. That's 7 or 8 games more than if I didn't hit. So I can see right away that I win much more by hitting. Now, there is another thing that scares you, and scares everybody, and that's getting gammoned. If you don't get hit, of course you don't get gammoned at all. If you get hit here with this one checker here and these 2 checkers outside, gammons aren't that big. It's only about 3% gammons with 1 checker up and all your checkers inside, and every 8 pips adds, the first 8 pips adds about 10%. That's a formula I learned from David Rockwell. And we have here 5, 10, 11, 12 pips. So I'm up to about 10% plus another 4, which is another 10%. Maybe I get gammon 20% of the time when he hits on the 2 point. When he hits on the ace point, I do get gammon more, but because I win the game more, I don't get gammon as much for that reason. The reason I get gammon more here is, of course, if he wins this game, he's picked up the second checker. 2 checkers in the bar closed out is 40%, plus these additional here, I'm probably gammon 50, 60%. So the gammons are the scary thing, but again, I'm only going to get gammoned on games that I lose, and half the time I don't get gammoned that much, so you have to estimate your gammons are fairly low overall, maybe 15% overall before he rolls, because of all the games you win and the fact that you don't always lose gammons. Now, if you're going to get gammon 15% or something like that, and if gammon's in a money game, and this is a money game, and it's the same of many match scores, gammons are only worth about half as much, it's kind of a no-brainer that you have to hit, because you win so many more games than the number of games where you get gammoned. And even if they were equal, you would hit, because gammons are worth half as much. So over the board, I came to the conclusion while we were playing that you should hit here. Let me put back the original. And that's pretty much how I did it over the board. And the extreme gammon will bear out those numbers for you. It says it's right to hit. It's a pretty big mistake not to hit. Your winning percentages and your gammon percentages, I certainly was off by a little bit over the board, but I got the right idea and I got the right principle. Now, if you got this wrong, or if your estimates are way off, my estimates weren't way off, but they were off on a couple of areas, on the wins and my gammon estimates, if I get hit, were off just a little bit, then you need to fine-tune your game. That's, first of all, if you're completely wrong, you need to look at these numbers closely and understand them. Well, one way to understand them is to take it to the next step. Go ahead and play with the hit and put blue on roll, and let's see how often blue wins the game. Put it on double action, and you'll see, even though you can't cube, that red is a 54% favorite after he hits. We already saw that from the play. And your net gammons are only 14%. By the way, that's one of the things I forgot to mention. Sometimes you win a gammon, but no, you don't really win a gammon. I forgot to mention it for a reason. You don't win a gammon because you're going to double them out. But the fact that there are 6 gammons going forward it adds to part of the reason as to why he's dropping when he misses. When he misses, your gammon potential goes up, and that's another reason why he has to pass. But looking at the wins, you can see that you do win most of the time at this point before he rolls. After he rolls, is it really a double drop? Was that assumption correct? Let's assume he rolls and misses. I assumed it was a double and a pass. Yeah, very, very big pass. So that assumption was right. Now let's look at another assumption. I assumed that you don't get that you still win a good number of games when he rolls a 1. Remember we gave him a 1-4, 1-4, 1-5, 1-6 are all pretty bad. 1-1 of course would be a big joker for him. But let's give him a 1-4. And well, here we can see how often he would win if he rolled a 1-4 by putting the checker back on the bar and giving him a 1-4 roll. Checker play, give blue a 1-4. And again, I said that I still think I win about 40% of the time. Let's find out. It's 42%. So there, actually, I had estimated, I think, over the board about 38 to 40%. I was pretty close. I'm happy with that estimate, but the more you look, every time you look, you fine-tune it. And I said you still win a few games when he comes in with a 2. He's going to win more, but he wins gammons less. So when he comes in with a 2, yeah, you still win 20% of the time, 20% of those games. So the 11 times he comes in, that's another. I added 2 games there. I was right on there. How often do you get gammon when he rolls a 2? Very little. You only get gammoned 16% of the time. Remember, those 16 is worth 8 wins. How about when he comes in with a 1? How often you get gammon? That's got to be a lot higher. If things go wrong, you get gammon 34% of the time. But again, you don't get gammon the 42% that you win. You only get gammon on games that you lose, which is close to 60% of the time. So all the numbers do add up. If you can't do those numbers over the board and you can't make some estimates, don't worry if your estimates are bad. You only need to be better than your opponent at making estimates. You don't have to be perfect. Very few people in the world are going to make all these estimates very, very closely. You could be wildly off on 2 or 3 of the numbers, but they might even out because they're wildly off in the right direction both times, or in opposite directions that cancel each other out. But you have to do some kind of an assessment. And even if you're way off, you're going to get better and better and better the more you do those assessments and the more you check them. And if you check them and you see the numbers and you still say to yourself, how in the world do I still win 40% of the time when he rolls an ace? I don't see it. I think blue's going to win this game a lot more than that. You didn't know maybe it takes 6 rolls to roll a 1 and then a 6. And you didn't realize that after he cracks and you come in, you've got a big game, and that is likely to happen. So if you can't see it from the numbers, you can't visualize from the numbers, then you need to play it out. How do you play it out? You put the position in. For example, in this position, if you don't believe that reds can win this game 40% of the time, you need to just play this position. Go file, set up, play from position, and, oh wait a minute, first thing again is hit Control C so you can play it out several times. So then go set up, play from position, and you might play both sides yourself. You might play against Extreme Gammon, or you might do what I like to do. I like to watch Extreme Gammon play itself. Watch this. I'm going to watch the 2 best players in the world play against each other just a few times. One time doesn't prove a thing. He could roll a 1-6 immediately. He could roll double 6 or double 5 and crash immediately. But by playing it out a few times, you'll get a feel for how this game does play and why red can win this game about 40% of the time. Let's just do it one time together. Let's watch the 2 best players in the world play. Okay, he didn't roll a 1. This is starting to look very good for red. He didn't roll a 1. He couldn't move. Now he's starting to crash. Can we see how red could easily win this game? In fact, red just doubled.
Take.
And he took. Oh, we got an exciting game here. And then blue rolls a 1. Red's a little sorry he doubled here. I'd like to be blue here. Blue doubles back.
Take.
And red takes. How exciting is this? How would you like to be in this game playing for some large dollars? Oh my God, red comes in. Blue doesn't roll a 2 and he crashes more. Is red going to double back to 16?
Double.
Ah, there it is. He drops.
Take.
He took. He took. How exciting is this? I'm not sure I would have taken that. I would have been very much afraid. That's another thing that's about fun about playing these games out. Well, we certainly have proven the point that red could win this game 40% of the time. And the other thing about watching the computer play itself is that you can then go back through the game and see if there's any move or cube decision that you weren't sure of and check it. For example, the recube take to 16. I wasn't sure I'm taking that cube. I want to look at that and find out why I was hesitant about that cube. Of course, I wasn't given a lot of time, and you can do the settings in this to make it go as slow as possible. I think we've seen enough to see that red wins this game 16% of the time. I want to look at the last cube. Let's go back. Can't stop this thing. Here's a redouble to 4, redouble to 8. I guess we have to let it stop before I can go back very well and finish out. Was that an exciting game or what? How would you like to see that game in a big tournament against two of the best players in the world? Hey, blue hasn't. It isn't over. Well, I don't like blue's chances here. Oh, he hits! Yay! Come on, I want to see red dance a bunch and get another recube in there. He came in. There's not going to be a recube. Red's pretty much gin right now. Ooh, doubles. Doubles. How's your stomach feel with a 16 cube in this position? And all of a sudden, he rolls 2 doubles in a row. He's in this game. Oh, my God. And he rolls a 3-1.
Double.
32.
Drop.
Then he passed to play the next game. Okay, so while they're doing that, I'm going to go back to the previous game. And I'm going to look at the 16 cube. That was the only thing there I had a really big question about. Where's the 16 cube? Here it is. Redouble take. It's a big, big take. Yeah, if red doesn't come in, or if red comes in, blue can still escape. Blue's still got a very, very, very big take. So I've got to study this a little bit more. My initial inclination was it looked very, very scary, and he took
Double.
before I could figure
Take.
it out. Okay, we got to stop this monster. Control V puts in the original position, which is right here, the 1-4 position. Okay. I hope this was fun for you. This is really a lot of fun for me, and I hope it was illuminating that you would hit in the initial position. That's what it was all about, and understanding the initial position. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the USBGF. Bye-bye.